Greetings, Goddess Body Mind Spirit community. This is Tyra Omilade, your Goddess Guru. And y'all know I love assisting women with living their life purpose using ancient wisdom and the Goddess Centered lifestyle. I'm so excited about today. Hey, how y'all doing out there? Thank you to everyone who's here already making comments. Welcome, welcome, fam. I am super excited about today because I have two of my family members on, spiritual family members. They are on to have a spiritual chat like we do here in the Goddess Body Mind Spirit world. And so happy that you all are here. Thank you all so very much. So what I want to start off by just reminding you all of is that there is a full moon circle tomorrow right here on my live channel. Please join me at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I look forward to celebrating the full moon with you all. It's the full moon in Libra. And yeah, I'll give you a little bit of insight on that. The actual full moon is on Saturday. So I hope that you all will join me for that. It'll be a good time. The full moon is a celebratory time for me or for us here in the Goddess Body Mind Spirit community. Let me just speak to everybody before I bring on my guest. We have Awo Baba Stephen here. Hey, Mystic Storm. How are you? Greetings to the Goddess Azizi, the Goddess Peg. How are you, Goddess Sharmika, Goddess Eileen? Hello, Priestess Serene. How are you? So glad to see everybody. So today I asked two of my priest and priestess besties to come on and talk today. Just have a spiritual chat. I'm gonna be honest with you, y'all. I'm working on my taxes this week, so I'm not super organized. I even told them that, y'all. We're gonna make it work. But I do want to bring them on for us to have a conversation, for y'all to hear from people who, we all have our spiritual takes on things. We were all initiated into the same family. And maybe we're going to talk a little bit about Will and Jada from the spiritual perspective, not being gossipy, but really taking that as an opportunity to just have a discussion about life. So I'm getting ready to go on ahead and first I'll bring on Iya Regina Abegunde. How are you, Queen?
Hi, hello. How are you,
Welcome.
friend? Yes, feel
You
so
all
pleasure
have
to be here.
Glad to have you. They may have seen you here before with the SAI initiation when I was launching that. And bringing back also Baba Osho. How are you, Baba?
Peace. How are y'all? Good to see you again.
You too. And the last time you were here, you spoke on what was going on with the Bill
Mm,
Cosby situation. It was
yeah.
just so insightful what you
Thanks.
shared.
Thanks. Appreciate that.
Yeah, glad to have y'all back. Glad to have y'all back. Hey Mimi, how are you, Goddess? So one of the things that I think is really cool is hearing about people's stories and how you got started on your spiritual journey. And something that we all have in common is that a very pivotal figure in our lives is the man that's in the picture right behind Baba. It's our Baba G. Yes.
Yeah.
We all our lives were changed once we met Baba G. And of course, his glorious, beautiful wife,
Right.
Iya Oshanike, which I came when they were together. Y'all knew him before
Yeah.
Iya. And so, a lot of people start out one way in life and find this path. One of the things that I talked about in the description is Afro eclectic
Hmm.
spirituality, is how I would describe us.
Right, right.
So we'll start with you, Ia. How did you get started on your spiritual journey? Let's talk for like 2 minutes. Give
Two
like a quick,
minutes.
like a quick scenario. That way we can
Um,
talk about a lot of stuff today.
okay, yeah. So I think unofficially, I feel like once all of us get on the path, we recognize that it was a collections of affirmations, confirmation that we were always where we needed to be when we needed
Mm,
to be there. Some people say it was a remembrance.
mm,
And for me, I think once I found Baba in particular, he was saying you need, which then later Oshineke comes.
mhm,
So for me, it was more of a getting to the right soul group
mm,
to really look deeper into the things I needed to change. So, and
mm,
everybody on this platform now definitely knows that I was one of those people that I needed this because it saved my life. So
mm.
that's my journey for that.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
Baba?
Well, I'll do it in 2 minutes or less. I'll try to. I feel like my perspective. I feel like we're all born into a spiritual path, right?
Mm,
And it may look different. For me, as I was growing up, I was born into a family. There were 6 or 7 of us in
mm,
our family. Church was a big part of what we did. So I
mm.
grew up in a holiness church or a Pentecostal apostolic church,
Really?
and yeah, we went to church 8 days a week. We were always at church. Matter of fact, my parents bought a house when I was like in the 3rd grade that was
Mhm.
directly across the street from our family church. So we had no
Wow.
built-in excuse to skip church. So my
Wow.
brother and I and my cousins, we would find reasons to skip out and come back before our parents noticed. But yeah, I think that definitely oriented us to think about things bigger and beyond the temporal and what we see. And
Mm.
then as a youngster, you found your own way, right? So for
Mhm,
me,
mhm.
it was having a martial arts teacher when I was a kid, and then when Into
Ah.
the Last Dragon came out, oh, forget about it. I was all about meditating and doing all of that and trying to do karate moves. So
That is
that yeah.
interesting.
And then by the time I hit 17 and went away to college, that's when I met Baba. So that was phew,
Mm.
1996 or so, and that
Wow.
forever changed my life. So
Wow. Do you know Tina Hardison?
that's my sister. That's one of my
She's on.
sisters. Right.
I just wanted to let you know
Yeah,
Tina's on here. Oh,
yeah.
so it's
What's up,
Tina.
Weezy?
Okay.
We call her Weezy. Don't tell her I told
Weezy. Okay.
you.
No one's saying it. We're not on YouTube saying that name.
Okay. All right. Cool.
Yeah, a lot of us do have that experience of our lives were in need of something,
Right.
and we don't quite know that it is that we're going to be called onto this new spiritual path. We just know that our lives need something different. I can very much relate. I was raised Catholic,
Hmm.
and I always knew I was a little bit different and just rolled a little bit different and needed something different spiritually. So, what was your first um like when you met Baba, or like what did you first start off venturing with doing in your spirituality, Baba?
I guess for me, the first thing he came into our classroom to speak to us,
Mhm.
and the first thing he taught us was about our ancestors, right? So we had those old transparencies, and he had all these pictures of ancient African, ancient Native American
Wow.
ancestors, and talking about us having the opportunity to go to college. Some of us, I was the first generation. I mean, my sisters
Mm.
had gone, but I was still, those are my
Yeah.
sisters, but my parents didn't go.
Mhm.
So he impressed on us what an opportunity we have to not only go and get a piece of paper that is a degree or diploma or whatever, or go
Mhm.
on to get your PhD or whatever it is, but what an opportunity do we have to go back and venerate those ancestors
Wow.
who couldn't read, write, speak in front of a crowd for whatever reason, and never had the opportunity to educate themselves or even be proud in who they were. So he
Mm.
impressed that upon us. Like, look, you got one hell of an opportunity. Don't waste it. And
Right.
that began to orient me. And it wasn't like an overnight thing. It wasn't anything magical, but it was just putting me on a trajectory, basically,
Yes.
orienting
Okay.
me.
That's I love that you said that, putting you on a trajectory.
Yeah.
because I think all of us can think back to that time of, this is what happened, and it put me on a trajectory. For me, it was my mom talking about a doctor she worked with who is Hindu, and she was like, "I just can't believe he's gonna go to hell because he's Hindu." And I was like, "You know what? That's a good point." I didn't know what to do with it, but I was
Right.
like, "That's a really good point," and it ever changed my perspective of spirituality.
Yeah.
What about you, Iya? What did you
Um,
how
you
did you
know,
get started once you recognized it's time?
once I recognized, I think it was interested too that we all share very similar stories. I didn't really fit in. My
Mm,
family was like pastors, deacons, and again, I think, I go back to this collection of remembrance. I remember my grandmother, my great grandmother telling me, "Oh, you're going to be a priestess, but not like how they do." Because I was like, at the time, women priestess weren't even thought of at the
exactly.
time. So it was really interesting. My grandmother was definitely, my family definitely did a lot within the church.
Mm.
Consciously doing it, we had a friend named El Hodge.
Okay.
Odds. Yep.
Hodge,
Yep.
consciously doing it. So I hung, and that's how I later meet my husband. I hung around El Hodge, the Five Percenters, the Muslims, Hendrick
Ah.
Floyd,
Right. Right.
Hendrick, back then known as Lefty,
Right. Shiesty
um,
Christ.
Shiesty Christ, because he was always going against the Bible. So we
Right.
got the Shiesty Christ. He was like,
Right.
he would want Christians to, he would tell Christians they're going to hell before they told him he was
Right.
going to
Wow.
Yeah. Yeah. He's a
so,
character for sure.
and Ramona Webb, who's like, I think she's in California doing it, but her mom was from Louisiana and she was
Mm.
half Native American.
Mhm.
My grandfather was half Native American. And I
Mm.
remember walking, you know, on my grandmother's farm, my great grandmother's farm, and he's naming all these plants. I
Mhm.
remember my grandmother be like, "Don't cut your hair on a full moon. We
Mm.
don't can on this moon." So
Mm.
it was always something for me. It wasn't a naming because we
Mm.
were very Christian. Like I said, they had a church, um, but yet but yet my family had tobacco land.
Mhm.
So
Mm.
Christians would call me superstition, very
Mm.
superstitious, because we did everything by the moon, and people would come to my grandmother's house for prayer,
Mm.
my great grandmother's house.
That's deep.
Um,
Wow.
like a lot of our traditions were very, I don't know, it was we're very Baptist, like living in, like you talking about living in church. We used to walk and hide to walk to the local store and stuff, so we wouldn't have
Right.
to be in church all the time.
Wow.
Um, but I really feel like a collections of ideas because my friends at school were from
Mm.
Japan, from China, so I knew about Buddhism, and
Mm.
I knew about ancestor tables because my family was from, the Bahamas. So, you know, when I consciously got with, I say Baba, I want to say once we consciously got with Baba, he took us all in and
Mhm.
definitely made us not feel like we were the outsiders any longer. The
That is
outsiders now
beautiful.
had a clique.
It's interesting that you say that because the next question I was going to ask you is how have y'all dealt with being different? Because it's apparent, y'all were raised up in the Protestant line. I was raised up in the Catholic line. All of these traditions, there's no, it's hot or cold. You either in or
Right.
you out with these
Yeah.
traditions.
No
And
deviation. Yeah.
no
No.
deviation.
Right.
I came from a family that was my mother was like, "Oh, you can go to somebody else's church if you want to, but you're gonna go to Catholic church first." So I had to go to church 2 times on the weekend if I wanted to go to y'all's church, right?
Right.
Right.
And
Right.
so, something that I think is very unique for those of us of Afro descent in the diaspora is the fact that our generation, which is I'm gonna say the late 60s on up, we are like, especially late 60s into the early 80s, maybe, we have awakened. And a lot of us have awakened. A lot of us have not. Well, let me not say not awakened. A lot of us have decided or heard a call to go in a different path
Hmm.
that's not Christian. Black people are very Christian.
Hmm.
It's
Right.
very uncomfortable.
Right.
For
Yeah.
me, it has been very uncomfortable. I don't know, but I'm not gonna speak for everybody else. So how have you dealt with it? Like, I give thanks that you just said Babaji helped you to not feel like you were so alone. Was that the main thing, or how have you dealt with it with your families?
Yeah.
We'll start with go ahead, Baba.
I was just gonna say, to me, I don't shun Christendom because that's the foundation, right?
Yeah, I don't either.
So, I mean, it's just like we don't throw away arithmetic when we learn calculus, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
So, to me, it is still, I still have a Bible, I got a Quran, I still, you know
Mhm.
what I mean?
I
I
love
still
that.
read the Bible from time to time. I will quote a
Mhm.
scripture in a minute because I know them.
We never
So
forget that, do we?
we never forget it, right? So that is the foundation. So you always stay true to your foundation. And just because you go off and explore something different doesn't mean you have to throw the baby out with the bathwater, right?
Yeah.
But did the baby, well, let me not say the baby. How has your family received it, or your community received you being different spiritually now?
Mm, I think for most of them, they already knew that I thought a little different, so it
Okay.
wasn't a surprise, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I remember going to one of my cousin's wedding and having a kufi on. He's like, "Cuz, are you gonna wear that during the ceremony?" It's like, we're in church, right? I'm like, "Yeah."
You're like,
So
yeah, brother, I'm wearing it.
right. So they already kind of knew, that I was
Mhm.
marching to my own drum. So
This is true.
it wasn't a surprise. So
Yeah. What about you, Abagunde? How did you adjust to being spiritually different?
I want to honestly say, and I think me and Bob also was speaking about this kind of fairly recently, which is interesting. That's why I had to laugh when you brought that up. I came from, again, a very supportive
I had to put that
family.
up there. We have Papa Osho's sister on, so
right, right.
she gonna
Hey,
We
tell the
gotta
truth
have
and
all
shame
tell
the
kind
the
of
devil,
truth.
fun.
baby.
You gotta have
See,
all kind of fun.
yeah, she gonna catch me
Uh,
if I'm capping, y'all. She gonna call it out.
All right, Tina, stay on
So,
top of it.
that's right. That's the only way it should be too.
right.
That's right.
So I started out very much so around a whole bunch of ancestors. I was lucky in the sense when, or elders. I was lucky in the sense that my church had wise women, a
Mhm.
council of
Oh.
elders. So I was very lucky to have that. Now, when the time came where the people who in our church would try to keep these one group of people kind of like not so much out of church because they needed to be there obviously, but maybe not in the roles that they were in leadership. So I went from a very nourishing environment with my spiritual gifts to then a very shunned environment.
Mm.
And I think that's when I began to hate the church and lost trust in God. That's the
Mm,
truth.
yeah.
When I
We go
went
through
from the
those stages.
right, when I had the elders who supported me, when I heard from God, it definitely didn't sound masculine. It did sound
Mm.
feminine.
Mhm.
So I've gone through the negative side of Christianity and the positive side. Even in Catholic churches, they were very comforting and willing to have me in, which I,
Mhm.
I think it's very interesting that these same people who would shun you would be the first people knocking at your doors at night for your help.
Mm.
Wow.
That's what was very discerning for me.
What kind of help? Just general help or spiritual help?
Can you tell me about your dream? I'm having this problem. Spiritual help. Spiritual
Wow.
help, like, you know, and I
Interesting.
think, but in the light of everybody would take that to what's the word? I don't want to say Holocaust, but that's a strong word. You know how I know why the riches were hung on the trees. I know why the
Um,
violence came because these
mm,
people would see the power of and
mhm.
the naturalist, the
Yeah.
herbist, they
Yeah.
saw the powers of that. And if you truly follow the Bible, you know the stars are near in astrology. And so that
Mhm.
makes them more fearful too. Um, but I have to honestly say, as I grew older and I grew with wisdom in my path, not everybody needs to know what I do. Not everybody is
Right.
privy to that.
Interesting.
So the people who I do let into that circle, they're very important to me for that
Mm.
reason only, because I don't want
Mm.
to weaponize you
Mm.
against me. But the also positive side of it, the people who are in my circle, they be the first one to be like, she's not a quasi priest. She knows the Bible too. So, so it comes with a balance, I feel.
Mm,
I think if you don't know the Bible, you don't know if you're quoting Shakespeare or the Bible,
mm,
or
mm,
you be
mm,
quoting King James version or the new written version,
mhm,
or
mhm.
you really have to know before you start judging people, or having this conversation. You can tell if someone's very new on this or are babies at it, even in
Yeah,
Christianity, so
interesting.
Right.
It's interesting that y'all say that. I'm going through a process right now, and something that came up is how I have been secretive to a certain degree because that has
mhm,
been my path also. I feel like I'm not, you know, as you said, Baba Show, we can quote scripture. I'm not casting my pearls before swine. And I don't
Right.
mean to call other people swine. I'm just saying I'm not going to be disrespected. And
right,
I don't need anybody to try to convince me. It pisses me off when people are like, well, oh, you're not Christian. And it's nothing against Christians. My mama was a Christian. My whole family basically is a Christian. I got one cousin who is a heathen like me. But it's just I'm not gonna be argued with. I remember Baba G said one time, "I'm not gonna sit up here and argue with people."
hmm,
I think he was talking about somebody who is significant to him. He was like, "She feel the way she feel, I feel the way I feel,
Right.
and we just gonna argue and bump heads. So I'm not gonna
Right.
argue. What I'm gonna do is focus on what's similar instead of
There we
what's
go.
different."
Right.
Ashe.
But I do think there is something to this witch's wound that you're talking about that, it's a lot of women who we're spiritually different, but we sort of keep it in the closet because it doesn't feel safe. And I guess I'm
Yeah.
at the point now where I'm like, it's just time for everybody to come out the closet. Let's just tell everybody what we finna do and who we are and what we're about. Cause let me tell you, everybody else out recruiting. I'm not trying to recruit, but I'm here to let folks know I'm here if you need me. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
So
absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, and I sorry, go ahead, brother.
No, go ahead, sis.
And just to ring true to that, you know, people, I still go to church. I wish I had my grandmother's picture really close to me, because I'm like, when is my sentence done at church?
Yeah.
And I think I had to get back into church to
Mhm.
have the love of church.
Mm.
Does that make sense? Like,
Mm-hmm.
she's
Mhm.
like, I don't want my baby to think it's all bad,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I've been in church for 3 years pre-COVID.
Yeah.
And now still during COVID. And I'm telling you, I've met some amazing prayer warriors. Like, if
Mhm.
anything's going down, I'm like, look, all right, y'all need
Right.
to, I need y'all to go to that closet and
Mhm.
do what my great grandmother did. This is what got them through slavery.
Right.
Ah, Shayo.
Right. Right.
So I just, that's my soapbox. And when you get to, this little kid told me something one time, and just a random kid, he said, "Oh, she quasi Christian. Don't talk to her." I
Wow.
was like,
Mm. Yeah.
I would wear that with a badge of honor. But go ahead. Go ahead, Baba Osha. I know you
No,
want to say
I was just gonna say I don't shy away from it. I'm a Christian, I'm a Muslim, I'm a Buddhist, I'm
"Ashe,
all of
something.
that,
Ashe,
right? I'm all of that
Ashe."
because all of it is just a fragment of what the totality is of God, right? It's
Asheo.
Yes,
just a fragment. So I
yes,
mean, we can't be mad and beef and set trip over the fragments, right? We got to get the whole thing. That's why the scripture is called scripture.
Yeah.
It's a script. It's a piece
Yeah.
of it, right?
Mhm.
mm,
So
Mm.
there are many holy texts in the world. There are
Mhm.
yes,
many divinely inspired men and women.
hmm,
So we got to be like Baba used to say, be like the madman that goes to and fro seeking knowledge and put it all
Mm.
together and patchwork, create a quilt of or a patchwork of understanding so you can walk your path in your truth.
Now that's a word right
That's what it
there.
boils down
yes,
to.
Ashe.
Mhm.
And
Ashe.
it all comes from that Sanskrit. So, this is in our history books. You can go look this up. It's easy. The
Mhm.
Bibles were divided into several different regions.
Mhm.
Right.
So ultimately, it's a collection
Mm.
of different places that's gone to different areas.
Mhm.
And I think that's where Baba and Ia came from with that many past one truth.
Yeah, I was gonna mention that. Thank you.
Yeah, it even tells you in all the versions of Christianity, Muslim, um, Hinduism, Buddhism,
Mhm. Mhm.
it tells you that before that. I think that's the one thing I've seen to be equal everywhere. We all got divided with language.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
in that is a translation. Like right now we're talking, I'm Iya to Iya Abegunde to you guys. In
Mhm.
Brazil, I'm Paga Paga,
Mm.
Mhm.
you know? In
Mm.
Dominican Republic, I'm a Morris.
Mm.
So am I still not Regina? Yes,
Right.
but I go by
Mm.
many names.
Mm, mm, mm.
So
Okay, I
Right.
see you.
that
I
is
see you
something
drawing the
to think
analogies.
about.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. So, I love that we're discussing this because what I see, a lot of times I'm here talking about by myself, and y'all just are really driving home for me this notion of self religion is how I typically describe it here on my channel.
Mm,
And Baba Omitosin, Awa Omitosin, he'll talk about Baba Metahochi, a
Mhm.
yes.
great Ifa, he brought the Ifa tradition here or was pivotal in it. Talks about Ifa is bringing together all the scrapings of the world
Right.
and, using that to help, guide our lives. And the way I describe it is that we are a gumbo people. Any of us in the diaspora,
Ashe.
whether it's the United States, the Caribbean, Latin America, we are gumbo people. We're all mixed up.
Right.
And it just to me makes sense that we will pull from different spiritual traditions.
Mm,
And, I remember Baba, I can't think of his name right now. Ishangi, thank you. Baba Ishangi said to us right one time, y'all not gonna talk about Christianity to me. My mama was a Christian. She was a good Christian. And it's
Mhm.
a lot of our families. That's what they
Right.
had to stand on. And
mhm,
Right.
so it's like we honor that tradition
mhm.
and and we understand that we are representative of the new way of having spirituality and it doesn't have to look like any one thing.
Right.
So
Ashe,
I
ashe,
just really
okay.
see us as, yeah, I see
I
us as
love it.
the new, like, this is the new face of that's like I just made that up writing up the description today. Afro eclectic.
Right.
Love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. I like it too.
You
Yeah.
always tapped in though. You always tapped in.
Right.
So let me just read something really quickly. I want y'all to speak to this. First and foremost, hello, Kara. Congratulations. Kara is Iya Abegunde and Baba Stevens' um daughter-in-law, and she has
Yeah.
a 2-week-old baby. Is
Yeah.
this the second baby?
Congratulations.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes, second grandbaby. So wow, that's wonderful. Meemaw.
Wait, you uncle over there though. You
Hey, I
adopted
know.
uncle, so don't
I
be
know.
talking.
I know. I know.
So, one of my favorite queens here, her name is Mystic Storm Spirituality.
Ooh,
She
that's
says,
beautiful.
this topic is on time for me. Got into it with my aunt because I do tarot astrology. Have y'all ever experienced anything like that? Or what would y'all say to that? Speak on that.
I'll jump on it, Abegunde, if that's cool. I would point the aunt to the Bible.
Mm,
Um, I would point her there. The wise men that came to see Jesus knew that he was coming because they followed the stars.
Mm.
that's
They were
right.
astrologers. That's what made them wise men, right?
Yep.
So, I mean, it's a part of who we are. It's a part of this journey, and
Mm.
the language of the universe is mathematics. The 5 percenters say God speaks in mathematics, right?
Wow.
So if you're pulling a card or throwing a shell or whatever, all of that is just probability and mathematics, right?
Wow.
No
That
one
is
can
so true.
control that
Right.
outside of God, right?
Right. Right.
So if you want an objective opinion on something, I'm just saying those are one of the tools, one of the many tools that are available. Then you can also read, meditate, and like my mom used to do this. She used to have her Bible, and if she's going through something, she would pray, "Lord, give me a scripture," and then she would
Yes.
go,
Yes.
"Here it is, right here, Matthew 22. Y'all read this. This is what I want y'all to read before y'all go out of the
If
house."
that ain't an oracle
It's
pull, I don't know what
right.
is. That's an oracle pull. I don't care what nobody says.
Exactly. And we couldn't leave the house for school until we read a scripture or quoted a scripture. You know what I
Because you're
mean?
supposed, yeah, you
Wow.
have to be pleaded over. Come
There
on.
you go.
You're entering.
Yeah.
You're entering.
And that's why
Yes.
my forehead is still shiny to this day from all that olive oil.
Listen.
She is so
Listen. Only Christ full of grace. Only Christ full of grace. Only Christ full
That
of
is
grace.
so right. We
yeah,
sort of did those kinds of anointings, but it was a little bit
Ooh.
different. So I know y'all were constantly
yeah,
getting that
yeah,
in the holiness
Yes.
church.
yeah, yeah.
What
Every
about
day.
you? What about you, Iya Abegunde? What do you
Um,
say to Mystic Storm?
my heart goes to you. And I totally agree with my brother over here. And, Omilades definitely always ring true with paving the path for a lot of things. Um, I always like to really breathe on those topics with family.
Right.
If it's something that they don't honor, because what we do know about Terra is it's the dark side and it's a light side with it. We know
But that's
this.
everything.
That's
And
everything. Exactly.
exactly.
It's a
And
dark
that's what
side
I say
to every religion and a light side.
everywhere. And that's
Right.
what I'm saying. So universally, that's something we all have to deal with. So I always like to take a deep breath with that, because for most people, they only hear about what we do
Mm,
as something dark, you know?
mhm,
So, honestly, a lot of people, it was told to me by someone to do tarot cards because people could be mad at the cards and not what you're saying,
mm,
for
Mm,
people who are intuitives.
mm,
mhm,
So, I, when it comes to stuff like the cards and stuff like that with family members, I meet them where they are, because that means
yeah.
they're very young in their journey. Because there's no need to argue. It works for you.
right.
It
Right.
works for you. But I'm not going to, and that's why I say, because a lot of times they hear about the darkness. And I say, and I hate to say this, but we got to realize a lot of people, when they do bring stuff out, they don't talk about Tittenba. Tittenba was a witch when they were burning witches.
Mm,
How dope was she to stay alive?
right.
Dang.
Yeah.
Come on.
Yeah.
They know the power in that,
Mhm,
but they feared her too.
mm,
So there's a great power that comes with what we do, because we don't have to go to anybody to get what we need. We tap in directly to the source.
I shall.
Right.
So with that, a lot of times, and I'm not saying she's big boy, little boy with it, she's not there to meet you on that level. And if it's her boundary not to have that in her home, then I just wouldn't have a conversation about it.
Mhm,
Right.
And the best way you can to teach people, you become that vessel. So when
Yeah.
you
mm.
keep living in the light, be so
Yeah.
bright that she's going to ask you what you're doing instead of
Mhm.
you forcing it down her throat.
Well, I bet she's not forcing it down her throat.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
I bet it's the aunt has caught wind
Yeah.
and is, doing the good thing that, people think
Right.
Right.
that they're supposed to do is to
Right.
tell you,
Right.
baby, something wrong with that. It's dark. You better be careful because they don't know. They
Right.
don't understand it. Never had a tarot reading, never had an astrological reading, whatever. And I'm like, but you don't know what I'm doing over here. So, like,
Mhm.
what are you talking about? But
Ashe. Ashe.
the other thing, going back to what Baba Osho said, was I'm gonna need for you to quote the scripture in the Old Testament. I need you to turn to your Old Testaments
Right.
and open up the scripture that talked about the king or whoever, the priest, going into their breastplate,
Yes.
divining using the unum and the thunum or whatever it's
Right.
called. I get the words mixed
Hmm.
up. I'm gonna need for you to turn to your Bibles and let's go ahead and go over that. But the other thing that I'll say is number one, I just have learned because I have this ultra religious aunt
Mm.
who I distance myself from. Years down the road, she was like, "What is it? Why do none of you and your siblings talk to me? Because all of us are heathens." And I say that, being funny.
Right.
Um, I said, "Well, spiritually, I am very different, and I don't like lying about who and what I am. I don't want to argue about it or anything." And I felt like I just don't want to have conversations with you where I have to fake it and act like I'm Christian, or I have to hear from you telling me how wrong I am for what I'm doing. And she was like, I can't remember. Suffice it to say, it was something to the effect of, I really want this relationship with you. And I don't remember. It was like she was trying to give me space. And then as she finished, she said, "But at the end of the day, your mama was a Christian." I'm like, "Oh, okay. Okay."
Yeah.
And, my mama ain't even here to speak up
Right.
for herself or whatever. And I was like, "Okay, so I see she's never going to change." And
Right.
so the other thing that, and so, I just choose to not go down that path, or this is what has actually evolved for me is I first of all, I started looking at people and I was like, okay, you can tell me I'm wrong, but I'm looking at your life and your spiritual system. And I don't care what it is, it could be any spiritual system. I'm looking at you and your life. And I'm trying to figure out, do I want that? No, I'm gonna keep what I got over here. I'm good. I don't need what you got. I'm good over here. Okay. I
Right.
would rather choose me and what I got than to try to make your stuff work for me. The
Yeah.
other
Yeah,
part
just
is,
to yeah.
once I start feeling so comfortable and I'm getting results in my life because of my spirituality, I'm like, bring it. Let's talk about this. Come on, let's sit down. Let's pull up the table. Let's look at the results of your life and let's look at the results of my life.
Right.
Or I'm going to have fun talking to you about the fact that you don't like tarot. I will sit down and describe it to you. I'm not going to take it personally because guess what?
Right.
I'm so comfortable with where I am that
Right.
I don't even care. Let's sit down and have fun. Sometimes it's like really fun to make people feel uncomfortable. Because, see, you're going to try to make me feel uncomfortable. No, you're going to feel uncomfortable. Let somebody come knock at my front door trying to give me a pamphlet. No, I believe in the goddess. So, do you want to talk about that? I'm going to try to convince you of why you should be a part of the goddess tradition. Do you really want to go down this path? Right. Honestly, I
Right.
don't really take that much time to have these kind of conversations,
No.
Yeah.
but I mean, it's just like, come on, for real,
And I
like,
think and I think historically, when you meet the earth people and the people who do live in the forest and live by the ways of the earth, is that's yours.
Right.
That is
Right.
yours.
yeah,
Right.
And I'm not here to defend me no more. I'm so
yeah,
good with
Right.
what I got. I'm not here to defend me. You gonna
mhm,
come ask me what I'm doing
yeah,
because I'm doing what you're saying. I mean, like, I was wild. I'm a wild child. Like, I would set this place on fire and be like, we live to set places on fire so it can burn again.
Right.
So I have gotten the place, honestly, because I live in Kentucky, you
mm,
know, I have gotten to the
girl,
place where I've had to have that peace with me. And only approval I needed was was my family, which my mom, my grandmother. That's all that matters to me.
mhm,
Now, my mom, that's a boundary. She's like, I'd rather you not do that in the house.
really,
Right.
And that's a boundary for her, and that's fine.
yeah, I get
Now,
that,
Yeah.
now, do me and mom talk about it? If she want to talk about it, and so we now moved into a place where I do my oracle stuff in the house. I do readings
at
if
her
I'm visiting
house.
if I'm visiting my
Okay,
mom
okay,
in somewhere else, and I have to jump on a call and do something, and I'm doing readings for people. Mommy's like, "Oh, she got her shells. I leave her alone. Be quiet." You know. So
wow, so
she
people
may
come
not.
around sometimes.
That's my experience, and
Mhm,
they shove stuff down your throat for a reason, and that's why got that shove. They want to shove stuff down your throat, but at some point, when I have to honestly say, the church that I go to reminds me of my great uncle who was a pastor. The
mhm,
pastors at this church, I can have any conversation with him, any,
you're fortunate.
any,
Yeah.
and that's because he's good at what he does, and I'm good at
Mhm,
what I do,
yeah,
and we're not trying to convince each other of nothing.
Yeah.
We're
There you
just
go.
having a conversation. Now, when you're
Right.
trying to convince me of something, you shoving it down my throat, and I don't have
Yeah.
time for it. I'm too old. I got
Yeah.
grandbabies now. These gray hairs are reserved for babies and grandbabies. That's
I
it.
Right.
love it.
That's right,
Love it.
Mimo. That's right.
You're so
No,
crazy.
if I could just put a bow on what both of you have said,
Yeah.
um, each of us are individuals, right? So we have to find, and we move at a certain vibratory pace, pattern, whatever. All of us, right, in the
Mhm.
world. So
Mhm.
we have to find what resonates and what vibrates with us to help us through our journey, because my path doesn't look like yours doesn't look like mine doesn't look like hers, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So we have to keep that in mind. And honestly, I'm from the school of thought is that your first religion is your family, right? the
Mhm.
first
Wow,
the
so
first
good.
person that you've worshiped
Mhm.
was your mother, because
Mm,
she provided everything that you needed. You know what I mean?
true.
She
True.
nourished you from her, right?
Mhm.
So when you cried, you wanted mama. When you
Mhm.
couldn't
Yeah.
say God, you wanted mama,
I
right?
shall.
So we owe it to ourselves as a collective to
Mhm.
first honor the family, right? And then leave them or meet them where they are, right?
Ooh.
That's it.
Ooh.
But you
But you
leave them in love, though. You know what I mean?
mm,
We don't have to have a pissing contest about anything.
Mhm.
It's just
right.
that, sweetheart, I love you. This is the path that I'm on. I'm not saying it's going to be right or wrong for you, but this is what I'm doing.
Mm.
And hopefully we can meet each other in the middle and respect each other, and I can come around you and you can come around me, because the ultimate goal is for us to help each other, not to
Mhm.
Mhm.
berate and belittle or grandstand on anybody.
I
That's just
love
my
that.
opinion.
But I
And I
think
think I'm gonna say this real quick. I really do think that this again is what we need to understand is
mhm.
that our generation, and like I said, I will say the late 60s on forward,
Mhm.
we are here to usher in something new. We
No.
were not
Right.
meant to come here and
Mhm.
do the same thing as what came before. Some people will. My husband's a Christian pastor. I will say he sometimes puts a different spin on it. So it's still different. It ain't old school Christianity
Right.
that he practices. It's progressive.
Hmm.
But a lot of us, we are, it's like we've come far enough as
Mm.
we were with the religion that was handed down to us from the ancestors of this land. And
Mm.
now it's time for us to move in a new direction so that the ones that are coming behind us, they can be free to be who and what they came here to be. Go ahead,
Right.
Iya.
I mean, totally agree. And I just want to say, just because we are talking about family members, I love everything that Goddess Guru over here is saying, and you, Brother Oso. I love y'all so much.
Love you too.
Not
Yeah.
Love
everybody
you.
has that opportunity.
Mhm.
I
Right.
haven't lost any family over what I've done. So I've been
Mhm.
very fortunate. For
Mhm.
those who don't have that, I guess, have good boundaries. Because if you need your family in your life, um, you know, like I'm from the school of all of a sudden the sun is just
I
beaming
was
on me.
like,
We
I
must
see
be
you
having
trying
a
to get
good
out the sun.
conversation. It's like the sun's like, on it, y'all on it. Like ring, ring, ring. Tap
Love
that.
it.
So, but just to say, at some point, you have to create your own family.
Mhm.
You have to. This is not something, if your family's not supporting what you do, I tell people all the time,
Love
I
that.
cannot pick my family. I can't pick my family.
Yeah.
I
Not the
really
family
cannot
of
pick my
origin.
right. But I can pick the people who are around me.
Mhm.
Right.
I've picked Oso as one of my brothers who I call like he got to listen to me all the time. My husband, so he's always like, I'm around all these Obatala heads and, even Omelade, she's my sister. We may not talk
Right.
every day.
Mhm.
I will call her up for 5 seconds, like, this is what I'm going through. And she'd be like, Chad,
Mhm.
I told you. I'm like, yeah, you did. You know what I mean? Like, call it out, call it what it is. And even Azizi, who adopted through sis over here, create your tribe.
Yeah. I love that.
Create it. Just you have to build that because I have to honestly say, my tribe make me feel like my shit don't stink, and I love it.
Aw.
You
Mhm.
know, they make me feel that I can be as transparent and honest as I need to.
Mhm.
So that's more important than the approval of my family members.
That's such a good point. And that's I mean, you're really speaking to it. That's how all of us are here together. And yeah, I love that.
Right.
Let me just see. Azizi said she knows an Oshun priestess. I really love this. Who attends Catholic church and sings in the cantor in honor of her ancestors.
Nice.
That is so cold, like as in good. I'm like, that's
Right.
cold right there. That is.
Mhm.
And so what I want to talk about, let me just tell y'all what Mystic Storm said. She had made this comment actually before we started talking about her first comment. She said, I told my aunt that there's multiple ways to get to the ultimate destination. You got it, sis. Yes,
Right.
exactly. I
Right.
agree. And this speaks to what what you just said, Iya. Testament to the quality of your community and teachers. And that is what a lot of people are looking for is a community as well as teachers who show up consistently and can help people walk in their power because that's one thing that our community, yep, Oceanike and Baba G Calioso really emphasizes we need y'all to walk in your power, your truth. There was the only thing that we had to buy into is have good character. Come in here and make a contribution. Don't come in here and create problems. Like we had to buy into those kinds of things, the group dynamic to keep us healthy. But there's no doctrine. There's nothing that we have to believe in. It's actually within the institute we are encouraged to just come and show up as you are. And that I don't say we don't have okay, it's been problems and folks get into it with each other. Let me not glamorize this, okay? A group is a group is a group. It's going to be some issues. But the
Right. People are
teachers
people. People gonna
People
people.
people gone people. The teachers did a really good job of
Right.
showing up for us regularly, and they did a good job of bringing us into community consistently enough that we didn't feel like we're just like out here free floating. Let me see if there's any other points. Hey, Paula. Yes, Afro eclectic. That's my new word. Okay, so thank you, CV. It's several priestesses and priests online today. Thank you. Spiritual aspirants are here. Thank you to the spiritual aspirants. Hold on. I gotta go back to Mystic Storm because I just want to tie this up. She said, I gave that same point. So
Mm.
her name is Mystic Storm Spirituality. So she knows something.
Right,
She
right.
she said her aunt called it junk. We just had to agree to just to disagree. I love that. Okay, so what I want to ask you is why Afro spirituality? If you're like me, I was like, I need Africa in my life. What did my ancestors do before the transatlantic slave trade? Okay, we're losing Baba Osho. He'll be back in a minute, y'all. Um, yes, Shamika, she says, I love this discussion. It's making me feel even better about choosing my own spiritual path. I'll take him out until he comes back. So that's why I'm having this discussion is I want us to know that we all are um on the same path. We're all on the same journey. But I really felt like I just need Africa. And so the first chance I got to initiate into Ifa, because it was all I really knew, to be honest with you, I sort of like knew that there was Hinduism, which was not even a thought or an option. And I knew there was Islam. There's a lot of Black people, folks even think Africans are that's like their main religion. I'm like, no, they came in and deposited this religion, took over, But to a lot of Africans, Christianity and Islam, that is who they are. Um, and so I sort of, go to a HBCU, you're gonna see the Nation of Islam or whatever. And I was like, Sorry, cannot do Islam. That is not for me. I am not covering up for nobody. Okay. This chica like wearing booty shorts and everything. And I like to shake my booty. Back in the day, they didn't call it twerking.
Right.
Okay. But that's what we did. 7 years old, we were twerking. My mom used to be like, I see the reason you don't dance in front of me is because you know what you doing.
Right. She go snatch a knot in you.
She gonna snatch me. Cause she would walk in the room and I straighten up. I'm in there twerking, 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 little booty shaking and everything. That's what it
Right.
was called back in the day. Um, and so I don't even think in my HBCU, I heard anything about African spirituality.
Mm,
Seriously. Well, no, there was the Arcer Aset Society, not society, Arcer, Aset and Kemet. Sorry, Aset and Kemet. They had created these sororities and fraternities at Morehouse and Spelman. But I was like, I'm not sure about this. I was still like, a good little Christian girl. And finally, I learned about Ifa in my early 20s. And I was just like, I don't know what this is. Iyanla Van Zant, Queen of
yeah.
Four. I was like, I don't know what none of this is, but it's calling me. And so, yeah. What about y'all? Go ahead, Ia.
Hmm.
Is
That
that wall frozen?
I think he is.
Okay,
No.
go ahead, Ia.
That's interesting. African spirituality always did call me. I remember probably most importantly, Yana Vincent was the first person, and then Queen Afua.
Hmm.
Um,
See, I found Queen of Four first.
see,
And then Iyanla Van Zant for me.
I don't. I think we met her. Sis, didn't we meet her in Cincinnati with Ia though? So I feel
I
like
never no,
you were in
I
Tennessee that time.
mm-mm.
See, I met her way down the road, but I feel like Erica Badu kind of brought it in too with a lot of stuff for us.
Yeah, that's true.
I can't. I remember the Rocka series, and we had a teacher called Dr. Daythorne
Mm.
who did African American studies, and that may be when I first heard about it. Kind of, but Baba used to walk around on campus with all these books because he was Muslim at the time. His big old crate and his projector, and they would
Really?
walk around with these big old things of dittos, and he would like sit here read this. I'm like, okay, yeah.
I love it.
So, but I think, to be honest, I think that came. I think tapping the power within was very important. Um, that was interesting. That's a good question. It took me a while, but I always wanted something African, and the Raka series was the first one to start bringing a lot of that information, close to home
Mhm.
for me. And then Ifa came, like I remember doing. Wow, I'm gonna have to think on that one. I can't remember. But
Okay.
yeah, I think pretty much that was way later for me. I think you got into that way earlier than I did.
Okay. What
Yeah.
about you, Baba?
I think I froze up a little bit, so I missed the question.
Oh,
Someone
what
was-
why did you need why African religion? Because I know we're all eclectic, but a foundation for us is Africa. So
Mm,
like Ifa, we're all initiated priests and priestesses in this Ifa tradition. Why? Why did you
yeah.
choose this? Or how did it come about?
I think it's it's pretty layered, right?
Okay.
So growing up, you understand that we have, white ancestry, right? Either forced or not forced, right? We have white
Mhm.
ancestry. We speak an English language, right? So we have certain levels of indoctrination. I was probably introduced to the idea of African spirituality or something to the like, maybe it was like my first trip to New York when I was a kid,
Oh,
and
really?
seeing like I think we went during a time there was like the African Street Festival that they held in Brooklyn, and I just remember
Mm.
being around just a bunch of different diverse people um, early on,
Mhm.
and my dad used to read to us when we were kids, like Souls of Black Folks and
Really?
Langston Hughes and all these different things. Yeah, so my dad used to be a Panther back in the day. Don't tell nobody. But so he
For
always
real,
instilled,
Panther?
and he's a
Wow.
yeah,
Wow.
yeah. But he instilled in us a certain sense of pride and dignity. He's a dark
Okay.
skinned man, and so he
Yeah.
faced a lot of colorism, inside
Mm,
Yeah.
and outside the family. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
mhm,
Because my mom, if you see a picture of my mom, she's very light skinned. My dad
mhm.
is on the opposite end of the spectrum. So
Okay.
he and we kind of got a hybridized sort of middle range, but he made us very conscious and made us very proud to be who we are, no matter how we
Love it.
showed up.
Love it.
And then part of that, I think he indoctrinated us with some Langston Hughes and with some,
Mm.
with some
I know. I'm like, wow.
I can't think of the brother's name, James Baldwin and things like that.
Yeah.
James Baldwin,
Before we were old
yes.
enough to yeah,
Mm.
before we were old enough to even realize what he was doing, right?
Right.
Mhm.
But he would read to us, and that's what he would read, you know.
Mm.
So
Interesting. Because when you said that, it made me remember how my mother indoctrinated me with Black is beautiful.
Yes.
And black skin,
mhm,
like she would say, Tyra, when you see black people who are real dark, that's like the most beautiful skin. So I had the same type
mhm,
of indoctrination. I'm very happy I was not raised in a family that was into colorism,
Me too.
because
right,
all of my
yeah,
siblings and
yeah,
I were all different hues. My mother was very
mhm,
light skinned, and she was like, probably should have been a Black Panther.
mhm,
So the reason I ask that is I want to know how, like, okay, so one thing that I know is Black people really want to make this connection. It's a lot of people actually who want to make this connection to African spirituality. And I'm like, what does that really mean for people? And I just say it goes back to, it's still gonna be gumbo Ifa,
right,
gumbo Bodun, gumbo Candomblé, gumbo whatever, no matter what, because we
right,
cannot. And of course, I learned this from Baba G. Maybe y'all learned it too. You can't take a 6,000-year-old religion and
That
just
part.
plop it down here in,
Mhm.
right.
the
Mhm.
millennia that we have been living in, and just think it's gonna work. I don't know. What do y'all say about that?
Go ahead, yeah.
Um, just to go
She
back, it's
called
really
it.
interesting. Just to go back to Naeem Akbar, my husband put that in there.
Yes.
That was in college, and we listened to him. And that is so funny you say that, because I feel like him and Baba would talk about, when are we going to have this religion that fits us, who are in America, who are
Mm,
from the diaspora, you
mhm.
know? So it's interesting to hear you say that. It's almost like looking at, like, I know who you are, but it's like that sparked that memory of Baba.
Mhm.
That
Yeah,
used to be his thing. How do we
yeah.
bring the ancient into the new technology? And that Afro eclectic you said.
Mhm.
So just to say, not like I give praises to that, but just to say, for me, wow. Okay. So I'm just toe up about the little connection right now. I'm sorry. Let me pause for a second.
Look, let
Let
me
me
let
get off
me
my
help
Uh,
call you
soapbox.
back. Imma
Let me get
call
off
you
my
back. Hold
soapbox
on.
for five
Imma
seconds.
call you right back. Hold on one second, because I was waiting to pull this up. Baba Stevens said, "Wifey still looks 23 though." So, did that bring you back, or
It's
did
the
it still
right.
sunlight. It's the
because
sunlight. The sun
we
is
all
looking.
like this. We all like,
Right.
"Okay, we see the power of Afro couple. Okay, we see
Right.
y'all."
That's
Right.
an Obatala energy. I'm telling you, I love my Obatalas.
Teresa was like, "Oh, you love your wife."
Yeah,
Oh.
man.
Yeah, we're all
That's
like,
what's up.
"Oh, that's so sweet."
Now I'm
That's
really
good,
confused.
man.
Okay, I'm gonna
Because
have
when you
I'm
made that connection, my brain was like, oh, aha moment. Like we're on Oprah show. We are on the Tyra aha moment show. Sorry.
you want Baba to speak, or you wanna go on ahead and
Please,
speak?
please. I need to get that thought out of my head. Sorry. It's in my head.
He might be frozen.
Oh.
Um,
So the question was, how did the spiritual African spirituality mean so important? Why is it so important to us?
Um, as well as, what do you do with it, and how do you like, how have you made it, work for you in your life? Because it's a lot of times it's not what people think it is.
It's not.
And that's the thing I really wanna get to people. Like, I am all about the Afro spirituality. I got my altars, I be lighting my candles, I invoke the Orisha, the Neter. I
Go
will
ahead,
call on
sis.
any of the
Yes.
pantheons that are Afro. I don't care.
Right.
But, most people are talking about initiating to Ifa, but I don't think they really understand what does it mean, because it is
Yes.
about us being new Africans with it, or we are bringing ancient wisdom to a modern, because it's not just Black people that work it, but
Right.
how do we take that spiritual system and make it work for us in modern day times? So I'm just saying to you, what would you say about that? How does that look for you?
Yes. So for me, it looks like, you know, my family. It's interesting because I do capoeira, so I have the opportunity to be around a lot of Africans, and
Mm,
I think we don't understand as Black Americans how
mhm,
much they look up to us for this presidents. You know what I
mm,
mean? Like if
mm,
something's going on in the world, they looking at us to do
mhm,
something about it.
mm,
So how does it look for me? Like I'm very light skinned, but my
mhm,
friends would tell you from grade school on, like she black on the inside. She black as
mhm.
coal, you
Yeah.
know? So for me, the way it shows up is Africa is a continent.
Mhm,
And it took, not all of us were queens, not all of us were kings. Some of us
mhm,
were scientists. Some
mhm,
of us was philosophers. Some of us
mhm.
was historians. And I think
Yeah.
my grandmother and my great grandmother were idealists about it. My great grandmother would be like, take a little of that penicillin, you'll be fine. I'm like, what?
Mm.
Penicillin? That's mold. I'm not eating that.
Yeah.
But now as we gotten older, you know, I'm learning like, oh, that I you need penicillin in your body at a
Mhm,
particular rate. She never went
mhm.
to a doctor, lived up to
Mm.
100 and something.
Oh, she
Well,
just took it
99.
when she wanted to.
This woman was like
I
like
love the
like what
old
I tell
folks.
you, these Africans
Oh my
that brought
god.
their knowledge here. Like we give so much praises to all these other people who came to this country, yet we learned several languages at this point. We learned our
Mhm,
tribal language.
mhm,
We learned American, wasn't even
mhm,
taught it, taught ourselves to
mhm,
read and write. Yes,
mhm,
we were enslaved for longer than we should have, but
mhm,
we still rose up.
mhm,
So, how does it look for me? First of all, I do not take much off of anybody.
mm,
I will speak up
mhm,
educatedly. I
mhm.
will I will hold you to task. I had someone to say, "Oh, you're very articulate." Everybody I know is articulate.
Yeah.
You guys are lazy, so like nothing was invented by you. Let's be
Mm,
honest, you know. It shows up in my family life. Like
mhm,
once you have me in your family, I don't care if you're extended friend and not my bloodline, you are family. So
mm,
Africans, what I feel like my African friends have taught me is I won't fall out with you over small things,
mhm,
but
mhm,
I'm going to call you to the table on
mhm,
everything because
mm.
I want to see you do well.
Yeah,
I want
yeah.
us to do well as a community.
Mhm.
Um, so EFI in particular, and I think Omilade and I have had several conversations, and everybody who knows me, this was a traditional thing that was passed to me through our family in the sense that Baba had me since I was a kid, and
Baba G?
Baba G, yeah, since
Mhm,
I was 16, I had Mfundi before him.
mm.
So sometimes it's hard for me to separate because I was lucky enough to be born into a lot of these traditions.
Okay, I see what you're saying.
So I like what you said earlier. We do have problems. And what I think is important, especially because you have your SAI girls on here and they're amazing. When I tell
Ladies.
you, ladies, I do girls. I call myself a girl too. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
Ladies, we have the SAI ladies on here. Um, Women on here. Powerful women. Powerful women. Does that mean what I do like about them when I get to see them talking and sharing their talents? They're aware that this initiation is bringing up stuff for them to work on.
Mhm,
Are you going to quit what you're doing? Are you going to quit your psychologist? Are you going to quit your marriage? Are you going to quit your job? No. What is this about you and how is this bringing up? And the reason why this is important with this African tradition for me is one thing I found out was I have never met a group of people to say, like African Americans and Africans who have been enslaved for century and the world is still after them, to say, what is this about for me on an individual level?
Mhm. Mhm.
Not a
Yeah.
collective of people are against us. How do we once again rise against this? So for
Mhm.
me, it's about using the tools that what we're given. For
Mhm.
me, it's an initiation to be tapped in constantly to something higher within my
Mhm.
spirit. Um, and it shows up in everything I touch. You know, they talk about in the Bible, when you are blessed and ordained, everything you touch
Yeah.
will be golden, will be blessed,
Yeah.
will give
Yeah.
fruit.
Yeah.
So
I love that. Oh, Baba? Thank you. Yeah. Baba?
Yeah. Thank you, Ia. For
And what we're
me,
just talking
what
about
is
is
what
what
is
is
EFI?
this? How do you would like how do you take this and make it something for yourself or your approach?
I actually just had a conversation with my son this morning
Mm.
about his journey, right? So he's 17. One of my
Mm.
sons is 17, and
Mhm.
he's a young man. He's finding his way. I'm not gonna embarrass him and tell him that he has a girlfriend and everything. I'm not gonna say that on YouTube, but he's finding his way,
Baba Osho don't tell nobody,
right?
don't tell none of
But
his family's business on YouTube.
no, nah, none of their business, right? No, but seriously, um, we are all on a journey of self-discovery, right?
Mhm.
That's what we're here to do, right?
Yeah.
So when you said like EFI, how did you take it and make it your own?
Mhm.
I took it and I looked at it and I examined it for what it was. It's a tool.
Mhm.
It's a
Yeah.
tool for me to get closer to my creator.
Mm.
And that's how I took it. So
Mm.
no, I don't know all of the hadiths. I don't know all of the odus. I don't, you know what I mean? I'm not I'm encompassing all of that.
I
So
shall.
what I realized is setting up the altar was really making an outward reflection of what I should be doing on the inside. That means I
Wow.
should be working on me and my little nooks and crannies and idiosyncrasies that I got that aren't helpful, right? That aren't
yes,
of my
yes,
highest good,
yes,
right? So that's
yeah.
what that did for me. So I might not have an altar set up. You know what I mean? I might not throw
Mhm.
shells,
Mm.
but
Mhm,
in my
mhm.
mind and what I'm doing internally, I'm doing the work internally, and I use other modalities. I
Yeah.
use qigong, I use
Mm.
meditation, I use
Mm.
everything at my disposal. I use mindfulness.
Mhm.
I use everything
Mm.
at my disposal to be the best person that I can be, and that ultimately goes back to Iwa Pele, right? The true
Mm.
moral
Yes.
character and being the best person
Mhm.
that you can be in every moment. And I screw up a lot. I'm not perfect
A
at
A
all.
lot.
lot
I'm
of
I
gonna
us
mess
are.
up all the time.
Yeah.
Hey,
Yeah.
I mess up all the time. I love hard and I make mistakes. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I'll let you know
Yeah.
up front, you know? But this is the journey that we're on, and we have
Yeah.
to use everything at our disposal, spiritual and otherwise, to make
Mhm.
ourselves better humans and ultimately to reach that godlike state. That's the
I
goal.
love that. I
Mm.
love that. That's beautiful. The word I wrote down as you said that is embody. We need to embody.
Right.
We
Ooh.
need to embody our spirituality, and we need to
Right.
live it. And it's actually, I know Ia has talked about that. She's like, everybody want these pots. Baby, you the pot.
Right.
You sitting up
Yes.
here thinking
Right.
the power is in the pot. The power ain't in the pot. The power is in you. The
Right.
pot represents the power in you.
Right. I
Ashe.
learned that from Bruce Leroy back
Wow.
in the 80s. Right.
See, this
You
is
are the
I
why
learned
master.
that. I
the
learned that from the guy
ancestors
on the corner who was
the
standing there every day.
ancestors are like, we gonna
Right.
get this wisdom to them by hook
Right.
or by
Well,
crook. They
hook or
gonna
crook.
get this wisdom. I just want to bring up a few comments right now. It says this is going back to when we were talking about the family and maybe they are opposing what we do or whatever our relationships.
Mhm,
Priestess Serene said when they see your fruits and feel your spirit, they
mhm,
understand that it's not evil and encourage
mhm.
you in doing what you do. And
Ashe.
Eileen She's a spiritual aspirant. She says that's it right there. Find what works for you. I honestly believe that until we do that, we will not have any peace. If we
No.
don't live aligned, yes, we will not find peace. Natalia is loving this conversation. I love what Latoya wrote. She said, "My family supports. Now we have a different conversation during family time. Conversations that allow us to all grow."
Ashe.
Isn't
I
that
love it.
beautiful? So
That
Right.
it's
is.
possible. It's
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
Let me see here. There was something else. Naeem Akbar actually influenced me. I didn't really hear him talk about religion, but I do remember watching him on seemed like he used to go on, like, what show
Donahue.
did Donahue, that's
Donahue.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he
Yeah.
would be going I'll be like, "That's it, Dr. Naeem Akbar, yeah." Um, okay, so let me see here. I love this. Black Americans and our civil rights movement sparked African liberation
That's
movements.
true.
Hmm.
Yeah. Because
Uh,
we're all one people, right?
We
yeah,
If
are.
we're
Yeah.
we're worldwide, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
Pan African. So this is what I want to say. Hey, Miss Cindy Jones. Hi, Janae. How are you, goddesses? So we're gonna take the conversation a whole different direction. Okay. Are y'all ready?
Okay. Let's
Are
go.
you
Let's
ready? Are
do
you
it.
ready? Are you ready? So I
Kawaya
have been so fascinated with Will and Jada.
Knew this was coming.
Yes, I have been I
Woo!
have been so fascinated with Will and Jada. Anytime something goes down, y'all already know I'm gonna be pulling a chart on it. I'm gonna be looking at somebody's chart. I'm gonna be looking at somebody's astrology.
Right.
And what I say is this: hey, there's something spiritual, astrological, perhaps going on. And so I just thought, as priests and priestesses, it would be interesting to have a conversation because, it's not all this airy fairy stuff. Just like, hey, Ashley, welcome. How are you? It's not like we are, priests and priestesses and we're just living in the clouds and
Right. Right.
we're just
Yeah.
every day we're sitting and we're meditating and or we're outstanding at the
Right.
ocean, calling forth the ocean, and it's rising up, and the lion is coming down from the clouds with thunder
Right.
and lightning. No,
Yeah.
most of the time we waking up, we doing our prayers, and then we're going to get our kids out, taking care of the
Yep.
grandbabies, going to work, whatever. Right? We living our lives, and we're hearing about what's going on in world
Yes.
events.
Yes,
And
yes.
so we're gonna go back to the conversation we were having before I pressed live. And I said to you all, should we talk about Will and Jada? And Baba, you said,
I said it's important to discuss it, but know when something has been overanalyzed, right? And know when something has been exhausted. But it's important to discuss it from a spiritual perspective, right?
Mm.
mhm,
And not get caught up in the personalities, but understand what we saw playing out, right?
mhm.
Mm.
I could go further if you
Go
want, but
ahead. Just let's
okay.
let's go with it.
All right. So, I mean, what we saw on one hand, we saw, a man that was jumping up to defend his wife, right?
Mhm.
Who he felt was insulted, right? Be it right or wrong, that's what he did, right? And we can go, conspiracy theorists will tell us that it was all fake, it was all, but 9 times out of 10, most things in Hollywood is fake, right? Because that's what they do, right? So
Mhm.
now, ticket sales and all these things behind merch and concerts, all those things have
Yeah.
skyrocketed, right?
Oh,
Because
I didn't
everybody
know
wants
that.
to, yeah, everybody.
Mhm.
I think Chris Rock's tickets in New Jersey were going for $40, and after that happened, his first show that went from 40 to $400, right?
You
So
what?
people,
I did not
yeah,
know this.
Yeah.
people were clamoring to get in to see what he had to say about it, and he hasn't addressed it,
Ah,
right? And he
yeah,
said
that's
he's
true.
still processing it. He hasn't
Mhm,
addressed it. But if we look at it from a spiritual perspective, right,
mhm,
we saw um, really what I saw was mental health. That's what I
mhm,
saw. I
Mhm.
saw a man who is unable to make a split decision that that would not harm his family in the long run.
Mhm.
Hmm.
That's what I saw. And I've been there. I've been there. I've
Have you?
been in, yeah, I've been in a
Mm.
space. Listen, I wasn't always a police officer, as Axel Foley would say.
You weren't always saved.
Right,
I ain't been
exactly.
a Christian my whole life. I just went to
Not my
Christian
whole life.
church.
Right,
Now we forget about the rollers that would cut your ear off, Peter.
right. My brother would say jokingly, he's like, "Man, I had to put my Holy Ghost in my back pocket and get with him." Right. So
So
that's
you
what
can
my
relate
brother
to
would say.
Will Smith?
I can relate to being not there cognitively and being in such a fit of rage for whatever has happened prior to that night or what
Mhm,
happened in that night to
mhm.
lose your focus and lose your composure in that moment. I've been there. And,
Wow.
it is so I'm saying that to say that we can't judge it so harshly. Yeah, it was a stupid thing to do given the
Yeah.
repercussions. But
Mhm.
he, as an actor, in probably the biggest night of his life, he
Yeah.
was not in control of his emotions. Now,
Mm.
that's where the hmm, I don't want to. How do I want to say this? I don't want to offend anybody, but the caliber of woman that you have
Mhm.
should have been able to sense what you were about to do and say, mm, baby, come here. We got too much to lose. This is the
Wait a
biggest
minute.
night of your
Should
life.
have? Should
Should
have? Oh,
have been
whoa.
able to.
Let's
Should
see.
have
I
been able
will.
to.
You know. You know. You know.
Should
Okay, we
Every
get
have been
ready to
able
debate. We get ready to debate.
to. But hold on, let me get there. What I'm saying is because a man is naturally 9 times out of ten, nine times out of ten, the man is carrying the warrior energy, right?
Oh, yeah.
So his job is to protect, maintain, and provide, especially if he already has a family and he's already
Mhm.
had, attacks come against his family. He is going to be hyper vigilant.
Okay.
And so a great partner, whether male or female, so I was married and I knew at a certain point, my partner was the hothead. So I had to be cool because I couldn't have her
Wow.
pop off. You know
Okay.
what I mean? And I've been in school meetings where I'd be like, hey, can you just go for a walk real quick? Just go
Mm.
for a walk real quick.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Just go for a
Wow.
walk. And I'll walk her to the door. Just go for a walk real quick. Let me handle
Mhm.
this and everything's going to be okay. But you're supposed to know your partner to that degree. You're
Oh, it's
supposed
the
to know.
word supposed to
You're
that or
supposed
should.
to.
These words are getting me because
I,
I say we are all sovereign. Now, do we
we
want to
are.
have more balanced partnerships? Because
Yes.
we do not want Will Smith abdicating his power, which he has, in my opinion, to
Yeah.
his wife. And
Right.
we don't want Jada, this threat, this talk of Jada needed defending. We don't want Jada to be abdicating
Right.
her power to her husband. Yeah, like, yeah, I want my husband to defend me if I'm in danger. Like, yeah, like if
Right.
you don't take care of me
well,
and
see.
somebody's beating me
Yeah.
up, that's a problem. But
That's a huge problem. Yeah.
and I get what you're saying.
Hmm.
I don't know. I'm just like,
I don't. It.
should
It's just.
Well,
It's
let me
just. And
or
finish
I.
this
is it
part
just a
though.
reflection of their relationship?
Exactly.
Well.
Okay. I
And
can
let
That.
me
see
say
that.
this.
Go
Let me
ahead.
say this. They've been under attack for a long time now.
Right.
And so
Right.
let's say this. We all know when we crossed over that first little year.
Look at Mimi. Mimi's with you, Baba.
She
Go ahead.
should.
Go
I'm
ahead. So is
saying.
your sister. Go ahead, E. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
You can't
The
leave me out on the
first,
island. You know I'm a hothead. You're supposed to get
listen,
my back.
listen. The only difference Jada should have did, she should have been right behind him, like, what? Say
No,
something
no,
again.
man.
Yeah, I
I'm
don't
just
agree with
teasing.
that.
So
Okay.
I'm just, but really, honestly, our first year when we were done with initiation, I was ready to handle people for real,
Mhm.
for real, for real, ready to handle them. And when he looked at his wife, planned or not planned, they done had a conversation about him popping off on Twitter or whatever it was. There's been a backstage conversation, and Will said to him, "If you say anything out of pocket tonight, this is going to be your consequence." So, and that's how I think. We have come from a very physically violent nation recently.
Mhm. Mhm.
We are
Recently.
dealing,
Yeah.
well, more exposed. Like when Lincoln was on the politician trail, he had to fight, like,
Yeah.
and
That's
I'm
what I'm
going
saying,
back.
it's not recently. We've been
Right.
fighting since this
We
country's
very
inception.
low vibration. And so, I mean, but I want to say that for a lot of women, they were like, yes. So, two things here. Will Smith, a lot of people like he should have never lowered himself to that level. You know,
Mhm.
nothing happens that shouldn't happen. If, let's say, nothing happens that shouldn't happen.
Yeah.
I feel like we put him on a pedestal where he was more than what he should have been anyway.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
he slapped a guy who was acting ignorant.
Right.
You know how many times I want to do that? Do you know
Yeah,
how many times I would like to do that?
and
And I'm
so I just wanna say though, on the spiritual level, though, what is
that's
this
what
all
I'm
about?
saying.
Because I wanna make sure we keep
That's what
this
I'm saying. And that's
about.
what I'm saying.
Mhm,
And I'm bringing it all around. How
mhm,
many times when you get through with your initiation, things that you have bottled up for so long are no
mhm.
longer possible,
Yeah.
right? So it's almost like that needed to happen for a deeper learning for him.
Actually, I agree with that. Yeah.
That needed to happen.
So
Mhm.
I want you to say what you said in the beginning when before we came live, when I said, should we talk about Will and Jada? You said, because I want to tie this into what you're saying right now.
Wow, what did I say?
You said they have been initiating somewhere.
They have. They've been initiating, and I can't think of the place right now. I want to say because they were on. My husband's on here. He might can tell me because we were all on the call, and they have recently got initiated. So I think it was the same time we crossed over also. But I want to say it's not
Oh,
the.
okay. Yeah.
Who was
Well,
it? Who was it they initiated under? Because they just recently the
yeah, I don't
children
know.
went first because they were walking around in their traditional. My brain just
So
left the building.
let me just plug all the priests and priestesses in the house. We need to be getting our ish together and getting our initiations going on. Okay, we all got the power invested in us
Right.
to initiate people into whatever you want to initiate them into. So what we doing in
Hello.
here,
Right.
y'all? Okay, so all
Seriously.
y'all be
Listen.
looking for my
This,
initiation invites. I'm gonna be inviting y'all to initiate with me. Serene,
Yes,
Priestess Serene is like it was just an act.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
So
agree.
it's
No,
a
and
lot. It's a lot. Go ahead.
I agree.
I was just gonna say this real quick. You brought up a good point about pedestalizing people, and I think that is at the root of it, because we pedestalize movie stars, we
Yeah.
may pedestalize our significant other, we
Mhm.
definitely pedestalize our spiritual teachers,
Yeah. Oh,
and that
wow.
people ain't gonna like it. But if you can't say amen, say ouch, right? Uh, but 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 what I'm saying is we cannot we cannot prop these people up, no matter
Mhm.
who they are. We are all just learning and healing as we're going. So we can't hold anybody above us,
Yeah.
right? We can't
Mm,
pedestalize people because that just sets them up quicker for the fall, in my opinion.
mhm,
That sets up scenarios like this, and I think historically, um, and not to harp on Will and Jada, but historically, if we pedestalize people too much, this is what we get. We get a disaster. We get some sort of act where they kind of fall and let us know and remind us that, hey, this person is human. I
Mm.
mean, we pedestalize Martin Luther King. We know he had his struggle with
Yeah.
womanizing, right? We
So true.
pedestalize, all these different people. You can go back to preachers like Jimmy Swaggart, right, who had a
Mhm.
big fall from grace, so to speak,
Yeah.
and Eddie Long. I mean, the list goes on, right?
Mhm.
So we
Mhm.
have to, and this goes back to
Wait a minute, did
finding
you say
your,
Eddie Long?
yeah,
What? Okay,
Bishop
let's
Eddie
keep
Long.
going. I'll talk to you about that later. Because 'cause I'm like, "You better not talk about Eddie Long. I went to college with him." Alright,
I
but go
saw
I'm
ahead.
you
just
make
saying.
that face. I
I'm
saw.
just hey, you can Google it. I'm just saying.
Don't shoot the messenger.
Don't shoot the messenger. I'm just saying we cannot pedestalize people. Bobby used to say, "I seek no followers,"
Followers. I
Yes.
seek
because
no
he
followers.
didn't want anybody to pedestalize him.
Yeah.
And so we all have this race to run. We all have this journey to embark on. we cannot spend our time pedestalizing somebody else when we got so much work to do on the inside.
Well,
That is
Amen.
ridiculous.
you
Yes.
know,
So,
there's this one man I listened to, and he talks about that. He was like, when you look to somebody as if they are above you, or you look
Mhm,
down on people like they're below
mhm,
you,
right.
mhm.
essentially you're abdicating your power.
Yeah.
It's to a certain degree a part of like sabotaging yourself rather
Yeah.
than working on you and focusing on
Mhm,
what's important to you and your
mhm,
destiny. You're gonna be working with these levels, and it's all about projecting outwards,
mhm,
and it's more about pull it in and put just focus in on yourself. And I remember when I was going through, I think it was my SAI initiation, I was standing at my great mother altar, and I was just like, "Oh, to the great mother of all the earth." And I dropped down to my knees. I said, "I bow down to you." And I heard in my spiritual ear, "Get up.
mm.
I better not see you drop down like that ever again. You
Mhm,
are the goddess. You're
mm,
not below. You're not
Right.
some little person that's
Right.
supposed to worship
mm,
this great energy. Do I
mm,
respect it? Do I
mm,
revere it? Do I feel grateful to be connected?"
mhm,
But that was when I first began to realize the energy doesn't want us to be, and maybe, because we're looking at this spiritually, this is how people see even the great divine. Oh, it's I've got to, like really look out to the great divine. No, the great divine is in you. The great divine is you. Quit
mm.
pedestalizing the
Right.
great divine
Right.
and become one with this energy.
There you go. And
Go ahead.
actualize. Right. No,
And
And
I was
I,
just echoing what you were saying. Just
right,
actualize.
right. And I
yes.
and I do want to say spiritually, it was really interesting talking about people coming up with this. It was almost like two black males. One is representing what black women have to hear every day about their hair, you know. And then you have the other one who is something like we've put into who is always respectful to women. He never
Mhm.
cussed, he did this, he did that. So energetically, the power struggle too, the history with them, there is a true power struggle amongst these two people. And Will Smith, more than anything, has been on this platform of defending, not defending his black family.
Hmm.
Even when they talk on, because
Mm.
I know when they talk on the red table, that's been his children's issue, his wife's issue, and everybody's issue. So where is it? So for me, at a deeper level, where is it? Is are black men not able just to show up?
That's a
Why do they
powerful
always
question.
have to be reserved? How many white men we see go and just slap the mess out of anybody?
Oh, this wasn't the first time this happened at and let me say something
Right,
real quick. I
right.
thought I was thinking Eddie Glaude. Yes. I don't like
Mm.
Eddie Long.
Right.
I want to officially say the Goddess Body Mind Spirit community emphatically denounces
Right.
what she said earlier.
Right.
Is Eddie Long was a problem. I was thinking Eddie
Yeah,
Glaude.
both
I'm like,
both
Eddie
of y'all
Glaude is
faces
good.
was funny, and I was just like, okay, I don't say it
No,
with
Oh,
I'm not an Eddie
disdain.
Long fan at all.
okay.
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 Emphatically denounce what I said earlier. Um, but
So
yeah,
yeah, so
go ahead.
energetically, I feel like we are very much so in this, feminine energy is rising. And I see
Mhm.
what you mean by Bob over here also, that women, are we using that power, as the change and transformation is coming, are we going to use this power as goodly? How are we going to use this power? You know,
Now, I don't wanna make this about bashing Jada.
I'm not, no, I'm talking in
Oh, okay,
general.
and
I'm
I'm
not,
not saying you're bashing Jada. I just wanna make sure that it is clear that
no, 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 no,
we
no.
are not they have problems like every couple. Name a
Yeah, yeah,
couple.
yeah. I'm
They
talking
got
about
problems.
just like, and that's why I broke it down to two men
Mhm.
representing this energy of one, to me, very old traditionalist, like black women should be a certain time of this. Agreed. Thank you for clearing that up for me, because that's what I was saying. Did what
Oh,
Tina just said. So
yeah.
when are we at this point where black men can't even show up? Like, okay, he slapped somebody. Okay.
Okay. No, it's not okay for him to slap anybody though, in my
What
opinion. Like,
I guess
but
what I'm
it's
saying,
okay that he had a bad day and
Right.
we've got to grant him grace. Is that what you're saying?
what I'm saying is we have been slapped around as a race for so long. For
Uh-huh.
us to do something to another black male, yes, that's an issue. However,
It is for me.
it's also an issue that he was putting down another black woman in a stage or a light where black women and black men had an issue. There should have been
Mm.
some equity, there should have been some community there that day. You know, we have a tendency sometimes to have this set up where we will put each other, they don't have to send nobody else in to destroy us because we'll do it ourselves, you know? So I guess what I'm saying is, on one hand, you have someone who was talking about black women's hair, and I'm not even mentioning names, 'cause I'm not really all up to date with everything. And then you have someone who was the representation of respect of black women. So that was very interesting that they had two black males playing each other, which is to me another power struggle within America to keep a division of a certain
See, I don't know if
type.
I see it that deeply because these are ultra wealthy people and I don't
But
know.
look,
They not
I like
regular
it.
black people.
No, they're
Yeah.
not. But I'm saying, just like when you do football, they have the patrons versus, it's always like an
Mhm.
internal, like, and that's just a conspiracy that I'm looking at. So I'm saying that the representation, like how much it has become a situation where it is looked at to me as a situation where, and I agree, I don't care nothing about Chris Rock or Will Smith because they don't pay my bills. So,
Mhm.
but I'm still saying the representation of him, they should have been more together as a community.
See,
We
I'm
should
not
all
gonna.
have been
I don't want to
more
use the word should. This word should is, and I'm just having a conversation with
together.
y'all. Okay, it really doesn't matter what people think to me. Nothing. We're just having a conversation. But the
Right.
word should for me scratches over me. I don't feel like there's any shoulds in it.
And
Just because it's like
I
we
just think it
all.
wasn't
I,
a
I
very
don't
good
know. Go
platform for
ahead.
neither one of them. I'm holding them
But
both accountable for it, is what I'm
yes.
saying.
Now, this is
Yeah.
what Miss Cindy Jones said is what I most think. This happened, and the temporary illusion takes our focus off what's essential for our journey.
Right.
The amount of time spent is a reflection of our
Right.
personal if then mantras. And so that my thing is this: if we have witnessed it, we are participating. This is what I said when I
Yep.
first made a statement, like really before even looking at their charts. And my thing is, if you witness this, then you have contributed to it. And the question is, what's in you that contributed to this? And my whole thing and all the discussion about Will Smith and Chris Rock and Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith is there's so much accusatory. Tina talked about that. Like people fall off the pedestal, then we just keep that's like something that not just black people, people in general, they love to just keep
Yeah.
pounding into like, "Oh, you remember," you know? But
Yeah.
in the reason I keep going on and on about this word should is we are sovereign, powerful beings, okay? And so it's important for us to understand that we have all contributed. If we witnessed it, if we talk about it, we have all contributed. And the mental issues that you spoke about, Baba Osho, I
Hmm.
need to look at my mental issues.
Right.
How did I contribute to Will Smith? When
Right.
there's this concept, the spiritual law, all is one. And
Hmm.
Right.
so if I think, no, it was just Will Smith, I'm missing out that we're all connected.
Right.
And so, it was an opportunity as I see it for all of us to take stock. And I think you said this, Baba Osho, for all of us to take stock and look at where do I need to heal myself mentally?
Right.
Maybe
Hmm.
I don't walk up on the stage and
Right.
slap Chris Rock, but maybe I'm slapping somebody with my words, or
Right.
maybe I'm slapping somebody with my thoughts,
Right.
or maybe I'm slapping myself,
Yeah.
or with Jada and her reaction to Will and whatever her part was as we witnessed it, we can actually here we go, y'all. In my opinion, this is just my take on it. Nobody has to buy into it, but as I see it, they are a metaphor
Mhm.
And so Jada represents what? And it's whatever you think it is, honestly, because everybody's got an opinion and all the opinions are right and none of them are right. It's just whatever you think in your world, however you see the world, that's how you're gonna see Jada. And so Jada, okay, she did what she did. What does that mean to me about me? To me, that's the most spiritual way that I can look at something. Babo Show.
Yeah, I would echo that. Um, just looking at a base level, right? People, the human, there's a part of our human psychology that loves to watch car crashes, train
Mm,
wrecks. That we have a guttural sort of base need for drama, right?
mhm,
And so some people might say that that's a thought form, right? That's an egregore that is out there that has to be fed, right?
mm,
Mhm.
mm,
Right. So
Mhm.
you see it in certain cities where you roll into a city and in certain neighborhoods, you just don't feel right. Right. You just
yeah.
feel
Mhm.
angry. Right. Certain
Mm, mm,
neighborhoods you
mm,
go through, you just don't feel the same because there has been a perpetual thought form that has happened in that area that has that created that mass, that vortex, right?
Mhm.
Just like
mhm,
you
Mhm.
can go somewhere that is peaceful and serene, shout out serene, peaceful and serene and happy, uh, that you just feel that way, right? You feel that way when you're there, right? It's the same thing, right? So we have to understand that we have to be the middle, right?
mm,
We can't be swayed either way because all of it's good and all of it's bad, right? But everything in moderation. So we stay in that undifferentiated state of amen,
mm.
right? That
Mm.
that undifferentiated state of peace, regardless of the tumultuousness that's around us.
This is true.
So that's all I had to say on that one.
Yes.
So my 2 cents is
Mhm,
sometimes that energy to get up and slap somebody needs to be there too.
Yeah.
So not saying, like, and that's what I was saying in the beginning. This energy and this pattern that we see happening, enlightenment doesn't necessarily mean you maybe he was at very much peace at that. Let's just using the energy again. So
mhm,
the peace that comes in with making a decision and being unapologetic with it, that is a decision. And so it's my opinion that sometimes, you know, that needs to happen.
mhm,
That's an energy that needs to happen because, like, people can say words and can be just as hurtful as something physical.
mm,
Yeah.
So he said, I'm just, the energy of what was said was very, let's say, emotionally, staged or not. A lot of women may have seen that who had alopecia or who never had to have their hair the way they wanted to have their hair as
mhm,
and I know a lot of women, even, I haven't followed this a lot,
mhm,
who have pain behind that,
mhm,
so Will Smith doing that was empowering to them, just that energy. So like you said, this was a collective energy, and how did
mhm,
collectively they play those roles to be in that particular setting, to say that I'm still calm and this still needs to happen. So,
mhm,
when do we choose what is calm and peaceful for what's not calm and peaceful? you know and it's funny because the land of the laws of the land will have you locked up for doing something like that, but someone could be stealing your, I mean, look at Uncle Sam and FICA
mhm,
stealing your money all the time.
mhm,
So that is definitely something. In the King James, in the king, when the kings were about, they were called the taxpayers, the worst people, and you physically would hurt them. Well, they
yeah,
removed those people and put them in an institution where you get your money electronically, so they're quicker to get to that. So
mm,
we are living in a time where aggression is not no longer something that we, over aggression is negative too, but
mhm.
aggression is not a bad thing,
I
you
think
know.
when it's channeled properly, I mean, like,
Right.
Ogun is
Absolutely.
aggression, and Ogun is
Mhm,
gonna come through
mhm,
and
mhm.
not think
Get their
about it and
justice. Right.
kill
Y'all know I'm
everybody,
always gonna
and
play
then
devil's advocate over here. Y'all know me. I'm always
there's
gonna
gonna
play
be
devil's
times when
advocate.
Ogun comes through and,
Mhm,
his aggression is okay, but I will say projection is a
Mhm.
reflection of what's on the
Mhm.
inside, and
Mhm.
everybody's opinion is correct
Mhm.
and everybody's opinion is wrong. Like,
Right.
Mhm.
everyone is correct and nobody's correct. It's
Mhm.
all what's on the inside. And
Mhm.
that's what, now
Agree.
that's spiritual. What's on the inside of you dictates what you
Mhm.
see. And let me just
Mhm.
say really quickly, I love what Felicia said. We need to redefine comedy. I'd
Mhm.
rather talk about the emotional harm of the comment. We
Mhm.
spend more time processing emotional trauma
Mhm.
than she's saying we want to spend more time processing emotional trauma than physical assault.
Mhm. Mhm.
But at the same time, I still say everybody needs to take responsibility for their part in
Agreed.
it and for themselves,
Agreed.
because that was a metaphor for us all. Baba Osho,
Agreed.
is he
No, I
frozen?
would
Oh,
agree.
there he
I
is.
think there's value in yeah. So I would say that there's value in seeing other people's sides, right? I've never been a woman. I've never suffered from alopecia. I don't think I have anybody in my family that has suffered from that. So I don't know the day-to-day trauma that goes into that, or the
Mhm.
day-to-day, emotional toll that it takes on you. But I can
Mhm.
imagine what that is. So if I'm a comic, I probably wouldn't touch that. But then again, you know, people are paid to shock and awe, and that's insults is what they do in that realm, right? So I think if we're looking at it spiritually
Yeah.
and we're taking our emotions out of it, right? We're taking our
Mhm.
emotions out of it. We're taking the baggage out of what happened
Whose
or what
baggage?
predicated that. Our baggage,
Our
Okay.
baggage.
right?
Mhm.
Because if you change what you're looking at, what you're
Mhm.
looking at changes, right?
Mhm.
So
Change
if
how
we
you're
all,
looking at it.
yeah, if you change
Mhm.
it in your mind, then what you see changes, right?
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
we
So go ahead.
have
How
to
do we
be
change? What thought are you saying would be good to help change how we see this?
so there was a teacher that I used to listen to a lot. His name was Bobby Hemmett back in the day. He's not
Yes.
lecturing now, but he used to say, whatever you think in your immediate response to something, just one day wake up and think the complete
Complete
opposite
opposite.
about it.
Mhm.
Because what
Mhm.
you've done is you've created a thought pattern and you've created a personality, but you are not your personality. You have a personality. You see what I'm
Yes.
saying? So and maybe this event was brought about to show us, those who think he was right and those who think he was wrong, to show us people are vehemently on the opposite side, no matter what side you're on, that
Multiple sides.
maybe, yeah,
Right.
maybe we should
Right.
look at it different. You know what I mean?
Right.
And
Right.
grow from that, right?
Absolutely.
Each
So,
person needs to grow from it.
right,
And I think that, we're in a time where, maybe social media has cultivated it, but I think it's just humans in general. And social media amplifies how opinionated we are. But our
right,
beliefs all are just opinions,
right.
and they can be changed, just like you
Mhm.
said, just like that. You can just wake up
Yeah,
one day and believe something different. And
Mhm.
so, it's a reflection of everyone has a lot of thoughts going on. Everybody has you want to know what someone's paradigm is. Let's look at what they think,
right,
you know?
right,
And I'm just gonna just use us as an example. Um, so there's something about you, well, Baba, I know. I guess you're gonna initiate as a Babala one day. Anywho, Baba,
one day.
that you're very about relationships. Like when I look at your post,
Yeah,
you make post a lot about relationships and
yeah,
what makes up healthy relationships on your Instagram. Am I right or
right.
wrong?
That's
Okay.
right. Yeah,
And Iya Abegunde, you got a warrior spirit. You're very Oya-esque, and you're gonna fight for people, and you're gonna fight for yourself. Am I right or wrong?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And so then me on the inside, it's
You
sort
know.
of
Yeah.
like I'm very Pisces like. I'm like, okay, everybody, we need to get along. Pisces has compassion for everybody. I felt for
Yes.
Chris Rock. I felt for Will.
Will
I felt
Smith.
for Jada. I'm like,
yeah,
yeah, I
Right.
get what everybody's saying. And look at
Mhm.
what's coming out. That's my point, is
right,
that how, and you've said it, what we are saying is a reflection of what's on the inside of us. And that could potentially be what we take from this. Because at the end of the day, we have no say so over their lives. None of this really matters. On the day
Mm-mm,
we die, nobody, not anybody on this live stream,
mm-mm,
none of us going to be thinking about Will and Jada. Okay. We're going to be
no.
thinking about some other stuff.
Right.
And I just think it's really important for priests and priestesses
Mm,
to have these kinds of discussions so that we can, make it more introspective and about the individual
Hmm.
so that they can grow. Iya?
I definitely agree. I just feel like anybody who knows me, I'm always for the underdog. Uh, so that just resonates. And even seeing that Yimo Ya love and that Obatala piece with it, I think it's very, it's very important that this energy that we see coming down the pipeline is definitely an energy to remind us that we still have this right to set things in motion with our words, to set things in motion with our intent.
Mhm.
Even from the spiritual renewal, because to me, he screams a person who just newly got initiated. He really, they
Hmm.
do. Their family, everything that they're doing is they're putting their self out there to see people collectively move. And I see a lot of people doing that now, and I think it's even more important that we continuously, you know, boost ourself in all these things. Like, I really don't know too much about what's going on with that situation because I really don't watch a lot of stuff
Yeah.
like that. So, you know, I do think it's very much so the collectiveness of a lot of people's fears and doubts that's
Mhm.
happening. I feel like, our takeaway from a lot of these things is making sure that we do show up in our authentic parts and selves. And are we truly able to? Because I guess that Capricorn energy in me, I would not even want that situation to happen because I'm like, I'm thinking something else anyway. So for me, it's relying on this positive feedback that we constantly get. Like, it's important for us to be the role models in our homes, be
Yeah.
the priestesses and priests we should be every day. And even if you're not, even if that's not your path, uh, my friends, I feel very comfortable with them being around me because I'm so selective about who's in my inner tribe,
Yeah.
because they do know that I'm going to take up for them. They
Mhm.
do
Mhm.
know if they're being emotionally hurt that I'm going to say something about them. But I think
Mhm.
it's also important, like, just to wrap up everything that you guys were saying, that I just want to echo. We have to realize initiation, Ifa, Santeria, Kundomble, Christianity, Catholicism cannot fix mental issues.
You got it.
Cannot. And we have seen more mental issues now since COVID than anything else. And I think it's important for us to see that you can't just pop off saying and acting any old kind of way in front of anybody, because
Right.
that could
Mhm.
have been tragic. We see the tragedy every day on the news.
Yeah.
We see the
Mhm.
tragedy in our, hopefully we don't see it, but you know, I think it's something to say that we are definitely in these times that COVID was the pre-initiation.
Hmm.
So we were able to go into solitude. The
Mhm.
world went under initiation.
Yep.
The whole world did. And
Mhm.
now people are coming back out newly initiated. And
Hmm.
that's what I think we're seeing more and more of every day.
Mhm. I love that. I
Yeah.
love that.
And if I could just add on to that,
Please do.
what we haven't done or said in the spiritual community, and or in any or in the community in general, we haven't said, man, this family looks troubled. Let's pray for them. Man, so many families were hurt because of this particular incident. Let's pray for them. You know what I mean? Let's send them love, healing, understanding. Let's send them because they need it right now. Even if
Yeah.
they are playing us and this
So
is all
good.
a big joke, clearly there's something going on. You know what I mean? So
That is so
we
good.
we need to we need to stand and be those lighthouses and send out that love, that
Michelle.
peace, that light, that
Ashe,
energy
ashe.
that's going to make a change in people. So we don't even have to ever entertain something as ridiculous as this again in the public
Yeah.
sphere.
Yeah.
That's
I
that's my thought.
agree. I love that. Thank you both for that. That's a nice way um to wrap up this discussion. I really appreciate it. I do want to honor everyone who has joined. And we do have another sister priestess on here, our Naila. We call her
Hey,
Omishade
homie,
or
Sade.
Katabu. Some of us call it Katabu. So yeah, Tina, COVID literally made us sit with ourselves.
Yeah.
And so just give maybe like your favorite Odu, or maybe just take like 1-2 minutes to give a word of wisdom and inspiration to everyone who is here or will watch the replay. We'll start with Baba Osho.
Okay. I'm gonna steal this from Ia. She recently said this. She said it before, but she said it recently.
Iya who?
Ia Osuneke.
Yeah.
Um, so she said, she said, relationships are the fast track to enlightenment.
Mm,
Mm,
So in all that we do, none of this matters if we don't have the relationship with the people that we love. That's
mm,
all that really matters. No money, no fame, none of that. People with money and fame will give it all away to have the right relationship with the people that they love. Nothing else
shoot.
matters.
Wow.
So I love y'all. I hope y'all feel it. I hope y'all see it, and I hope y'all love me too.
We love you. Everyone loves you.
I appreciate it. I love you.
Iya?
I should have went first
Got you.
because I was thinking of that one because of last weekend. I was like,
Well,
I
speak
already know
on
what I
it.
got.
Give your
Yeah.
give your thoughts on it if that's
So
what you want to talk about.
I do agree. We had we I I agree with that relationship part because my tribe, that's what I
Mhm.
always scream, my soul tribe, my tribe. Um, I really feel like the energy that you bring with your relationships brings out what's inside of you.
Mm.
And
Mhm.
it's evident of who you really are. Um, we can change these patterns about ourselves, or we can choose to stay in this pattern, and that's where that elevation goes. Um, my husband and I have been married for years and also best of friends before we got married. And I
Mm.
think that's the foundation was he was my friend. He never
Mm.
had to per se, you know, within relationships, you're going to have issues, but
Mhm.
also my struggle was always friendships. And what I realized with my friendships is that
Mhm.
that's also a relationship. And
Right.
the ship is just that, they're ships, they're sailing, and we all have these
Mm.
patterns
Right.
that we have to work on, and how are we going to move and navigate through it.
Mhm.
So I like to always do Maya Angelou because I feel like she was definitely probably initiated into her own queendom.
Mhm.
We marvel in the beauty of a butterfly, but we never ask what that butterfly went to get to that beauty. And I synopsis,
Well.
you
Right.
know, but
Right.
that's where I definitely feel like, as we like even looking at my sis goddess guru over here, knowing that she
Right.
was always going to be the person who initiated people, because she's like, "You're not getting off this ship." I'm like, "Where's the ship? What are you talking about?" You
Right.
know, when I tell you, we'll call you out and love you in the same token, you're like, I just got served and loved on all at the same time. Like, I'm so very confused. And calling my brother over
Right.
here, like, I just can't do it one more day. He's like, sis, I'm gonna need you to breathe, you
Right.
know.
That's such a
So,
good point. Yeah.
right, having that relationship, like, I've never seen anybody dedicated to community and to family like we are.
Mhm.
We love each other's dirty draws, I think.
We're just gonna
Love
let
you
you
too,
speak for the
sis.
family. It's like, okay, if you say so.
Yeah, I ain't
Okay,
clear no more.
so what I'm gonna end with is have compassion for yourselves.
Mm,
The more
Right.
compassion you offer yourself, you will naturally offer it to the world. Self compassion is probably one of the most transformational things that could happen in the world. So Just be compassionate with yourself. Love yourself in your mess. Love yourself in your success. Just love yourself and offer
Mm,
yourself a lot of compassion and think about the past selves. Talk about relationship.
mhm,
Have a beautiful relationship with yourself. Look back to that little girl and say, man, you held it down. That was a really difficult time and you got us through. Or look
right.
back to your 20 something self or your 30 something self and honor her, honor him, and, you know, say, thank you for getting me through that time. I got it from here, maybe, or even yourself last week. Yet again, you failed to get something done. Offer yourself compassion.
Mm,
What
Mm,
what what would Big Mama say to you? What would Papa
mm,
say
mhm,
to you or Papa say to you? You're gonna be fine. You're gonna get it done. Just keep at it. You're gonna get it done. Sometimes that's how we have. Sometimes you have to encourage yourself. And that
mm.
what they used to
mm.
sing in the Christian church. Sometimes you
Yep.
gotta
Yep.
encourage your own self.
Right.
So yeah, that's what I'm gonna offer to
Beautiful.
you all. So thank y'all again so very much. Will
Thank
y'all
you.
come back and chat with us?
So fun.
Okay.
So
And
fun.
I think we need to have Baba
Absolutely.
Stephen.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm gonna say
Yeah.
Naila, so they know who she is here. Priestess Serene. I don't CV. We're gonna call Priestess CV on up here too. We're gonna say
Mm,
Priestess CV.
Right.
yes.
I hope I didn't miss anybody. Did I miss anybody? Any of the priests and priestesses? I think that was everybody. So we're gonna have to have all of us up here talking. Thank you to everybody who has been here in the chat. Y'all made it. You just really enriched it. Thank you so much for being here. And so yeah, any last words before we're about to get off? Because I know Ia, you gotta go. It's 8 o'clock. Anything you
Um,
want to say before we leave?
no, I'm good. I'm already clocked in. So, um, you know, just I always say Baba would be that main person, like to bring that energy back into like just reiterating, be gentle on yourself. Like that's such a beautiful
Oh
thing
yeah,
to remember in these processes as we go through them. Because even, you know, if you're going through a formal initiation or not, you have to remember that you're constantly going through something and always be gentle with yourself.
yeah, love it. What about you, Baba?
Right. That's right. I would echo that. I have been learning recently about a concept called radical forgiveness. And
You just not learning about that? I used to
that's
teach
what I would
about it all the
encourage.
time. Okay, go ahead.
Well, I'm learning it in my personal life. How about that? I'm familiar with the concept, but putting it to practical application. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Putting it into practice and
radical
loving
forgiveness. Mm,
someone or several someones who have harmed you in some way,
mhm,
right? And learning
mm,
that and teaching that to my sons at an early age past certain things, and
yeah,
you're not trapped, you're not stuck
yeah,
in a loop. So
yeah.
that's what
Mm,
I would say.
Ooh, okay, so we
beautiful.
already got our next topic. Thank you
Yeah,
to Woe. So we about to come back and talk about divine
yeah,
masculine and sacred feminine. We actually kind of talked about that tonight, don't y'all think?
Yes, I
We
do.
actually did
a little
talk
bit.
about that
Yeah,
tonight with
Yes,
Will
we did.
and Jada and Chris Rock and everything. So wonderful. I really appreciate you all. This is so beautiful. It part of my desire is to bring on um, people of African descent, people of color, to speak within the spiritual space. And I really appreciate y'all for showing up and doing that. It means a lot to a lot of people. And
yeah,
it's not about actually just about, let me not say it's not just about bringing Afro um, spiritual leaders. It's what we have to say is good and it will help everybody who's
right.
underneath the sound of my voice.
Right, right,
Intuition.
right,
Listen to that
Yes.
intuition. I love
Yes,
it.
right.
yes. Well, thank y'all again so much. Thank you to everybody who's out
Thank you.
there. And yeah, we're getting ready to go on ahead and sign off. So everyone take care. See y'all tomorrow at the full moon workshop. And what? Libra, all about relationships. Love y'all. Blessings of the goddess and the
That's right.
ancestors be upon you. Thank you all so much. Love y'all.